Welcome to Align to Your Design. I'm your host, Baeth Davis. Isn't it time to wrap your business around your purpose and bring your greatest work to the world? Each week, join me as we explore various biometric tools such as human design and hand analysis and how to use them to fulfill your destiny and align to your design. We will reveal how to do the work you are designed to do rather than what you think you should do. Hey everyone, Baeth Davis here. Thanks for being a member of Align to Your Design. We have over 100 people a week joining this group. It's just great. The word of mouth has been spreading. And today I have a really special treat for you for our Align to Your Design show. My dear friends, Judith Sherven and Jim Sniechowski, have agreed to be interviewed by me. I first met Judith in a women's group she was leading, oh my goodness, almost 30 years ago. It was probably 28. It was a while ago. Let's just say it was a while back. I was in my 20s and she was the age she was. And we really bonded in that group and then became friends over time. And then I got to know Jim and I learned so much from them about better relating, how to better relate to myself, better relate to others. So I'm going to share a little bit about their professional history, and then they're going to come on and we're going to talk about how to allow yourself to be fabulous in business. That is our topic for today. And I think business is fun. It is definitely something you want to feel fabulous doing and be fabulous in. So that's going to be our topic today. Judith Sherven and Jim Sniechowski are a husband and wife team. They are relationship experts and psychology experts. They are affectionately known as Judith and Jim, and they inspire everyone who meets them, from the self-employed to business owners, leaders, and employees at all levels, in order to help them achieve their maximum success. And you know, I talk often in here about maximum fulfillment. So Judith and Jim and I are on the same page. It is the whole point. Maximum success, maximum fulfillment. They are best-selling authors and executive coaches, coaching for LinkedIn. I'm sure you've all heard of LinkedIn for nearly 11 years, and Credit Karma. I'm sure you've heard of them too. Credit Karma for almost 5 years. And current clients include LinkedIn, Unity Technologies, World Courier, Blackbird Interactive, along with several startups and many individuals. At the heart of their work is the message that the imposter syndrome, or what they call the fear of being fabulous, can be eradicated with the help of their program, Being Fabulous in Business, which is a 4-hour audio program with enhanced transcripts and an online workbook. And towards the end of our interview, they will be sharing more about the program. But I've also put the link in the comments. You'll see it either above this video or off to the side of the video, depending on what device you're watching this interview on. So go ahead and click on that link to find out more about the program and take advantage of that program. Judith and Jim have also been guest experts on over 3,000. I want you to take that in for a moment. 3,000 television and radio shows, including Oprah, The View, 48 Hours, CNN, and Canada AM. And with that, please welcome my delightful friends, my spiritual parents, Judith Sherven and Jim Sniechowski, affectionately known as Judith and Jim. Welcome, welcome to the show. It is so great to have you here.
Nice to see you. So good to see you.
Wonderful
So good.
to be with you.
It's so good to be here. I'm excited for our conversation. So you have been psychologists and executive coaches now for several decades. Yes?
Yes.
What do you see is the number one reason that people feel held back in their ability to succeed in their career, in their ability to make money, even lots of money? What is it that's really holding us back? I mean, someone might say fear, but okay, yeah, everybody's got fear. What is it really that you've observed? Because you've worked with thousands of people.
The simplest way to say it, Beth, is people do not have internal permission to get the success they desire. They stop themselves, they withhold, they don't believe in themselves, they stop themselves, they sabotage themselves. Without that internal permission, you have no internal support.
So we would ask everyone watching to think about how often they procrastinate, how often they let themselves indulge in the novel they're reading or the movie they're watching instead of getting at that work project that would push them ahead. Or how do people receive compliments? How well do they receive praise? We ask everyone watching to think about it, because we recently started talking about a phrase that we came up with because of a client we're working with, the duck and giggle. That when people get a compliment, they very often they duck and giggle instead of being able to say, thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah. I noticed that. Yes.
So people have trouble believing they deserve the praise. Well, if you can't receive a simple compliment, how well are you going to be internally supported to push forward in your work life, your career, when you're being held back right at the start?
Wow. Yeah. And what do you think, just sort of a side question, but where do you think the roots of this come from? Is it cultural? Is it humans just being in groups and not trying to one up each other? And what do you think the fundamental reasons are that we don't want to shine? We don't want to draw attention to ourselves.
Our approach is that it is familial. It happens when you are a child. You are told things like, don't, you're too big for your britches. Don't be humble, be quiet, be modest, etc., etc. Women are supposed to be second class to the men, and men are supposed to be champions. That's all such bull. It's just crap. Most men try, but they don't get there. And if they get there, it's usually fake.
Right. So we look at, in our program and in the coaching we do, we ask people to look back on those early years of what was going on in the family, both overtly. Were parents playing themselves down? Were they undermining their own success? And what kinds of messages were they receiving in the family? How many kids are told, who are you to speak up? We don't want to hear from you. You're just a little punk. Know your place. You're out of line. All kinds of messages that kids receive that parents do not realize are undermining those little people's internal integrity and internal ambition to be larger. And of course, there are lots of people who feel like it's disloyal if they become more successful than their parents. And certainly Jim and I have had to work through some of that, as you well know.
Yeah. Well, to that point, you were both successful actors earlier in your lives, right? Before you met one another, and then you both walked away. Why did you walk away?
You want to take it first?
I'll take it. Well, I was a stage actor for 15 years and very, very successful. I did 85 different stage productions in that time.
Wow.
And then I went to Hollywood, which was, of course, the dream. That's what started the whole process. I got to Hollywood. I did a Rockford Files. It was a very simple role. Agent Ben Bass, the CIA, the FBI, something like that. And if Jim Rockford had been accused of something, I had to get him into a car, take him to an airport, and put him on the plane. That's it. That was it. And the first scene was, "Hi, I'm Agent Ben Bass. I'm here to see you." We get in the car. We get to the airport. We say, "Here he is. There he is." I put it done, finished. I had never seen myself perform. I was horrified at what I saw. It's what most people experience. They hear their own voice for the first time. They can't believe it. I could not believe what I was seeing. I went to my agent's office. I put a note under his doors. I am quitting the bid. Don't try to find me. You won't be able to quit the bid. I'm finished. It was silly. It was completely irrational and ungrounded. When I saw it years later, it was a simple little performance. It was fine.
It was fine. We've both seen it. It was completely fine, but Jim was horrified because the internal voice that voice ready to undermine him was all too ready to put him down. And certainly in my case, I grew up in Los Angeles, did tons of commercials and television acting, and went to New York after college. And Beth and everybody listening and watching, in 1967, when I was in New York, I had 4 agents. I was working a lot. Not only did one of my agents ask if he could manage my acting career, to which I summarily said no, because I was going to go back to Los Angeles to get married, because that's what my parents had raised me to do. And Beth, in 1967, I took home in my jeans $50,000. Today, that's the equivalent of $400,000. And did it inspire me to go even to a larger career on Broadway, soap operas, going to London or Paris and working? No. My unconscious programming was I have to get married. So I go back to Los Angeles, which is not where my career was on fire. And 22 years later, do I find this wonderful man to marry? So we have to be deeply suspicious about why both of us sabotage those acting careers. And one of the things we want everyone listening and watching to pay attention to is neither of our fathers graduated high school. Neither our mothers worked. The words ambition and career were never mentioned in our households, ever. So we grew up, both Jim and I, when we knew each other better and we started talking about all of this and came up with this idea of the fear of being fabulous, is we had no internal permission to have giant, robust careers.
Yeah, that really makes sense. And, how did that, you shared a little bit of how that influenced what you focus on now with the fear of being fabulous. Can you say more about how you focus on that with people? See, because you see them holding themselves back from success because of the fear of being fabulous. So how what you went through, how does it influence how you work with people now? That's what I'm trying to ask you.
First of all, we know it's real. It was real for us. We lived it. So when we say it's not theory, it's not textbook, it's actual life experience that we went through and had to survive through. Well, a lot of people don't survive. I didn't survive. I quit the business. I stopped. But I got into something else. My deepest talent is psychology. And that was true through my whole theatrical career. And I can now locate myself in doing executive coaching with Judith, which is, to use your phrase, is fulfilling. It's not a payday, it's a soul fulfillment. I had internal permission to do the complete support.
So what we see with clients are things like they're afraid to ask for a promotion. They're reluctant to speak up at a meeting because maybe their idea isn't the best idea, only to hear somebody else at the meeting say that idea, get credit for it, and then they're mad at themselves that they stayed mute, but they have held themselves back all through school, all through their career, and their reluctance holds them back. Even people, and I want everyone watching to really get this, even people who've made it as far as being a VP, because Jim and I coach for a lot of tech companies, as Beth said, even people who are VPs, senior VPs, have even entered into the C-suite of companies. We have coached through their reluctance to move further, their reluctance to be broader in their leadership. So what we know is when people start their own business, like clients of yours, Beth, they often start with a small idea because that's all they can let themselves imagine.
Right.
Instead of what would happen if they let themselves imagine it much larger? If they dreamed bigger, what would happen? But if they don't have internal permission to do that, they can't.
Here's the idea, Beth, of internal permission. The imposter syndrome, when people believe they don't have the value or the credibility, even in the face of factual evidence of the contrary. It's amazing to watch these people do all these things. They get patents. They get sometimes they were promoted. They have great ideas. They cannot take it in. They cannot own who they are. So what they do is make one kind of excuse after another. They duck and giggle is what they do.
Mm-hmm.
They get out. They leave. And then they're left stranded, not knowing what the hell is going on, even consciously. Their intentions is to have a better life. They can't make it happen.
Oh, it's fascinating. So, your answers are really pointing to the power of this unconscious programming,
Yes, ma'am.
which of course we talk about all the time here in Aligned to Your Design, because it's about deconditioning from that programming that's going to set us free. And we all receive it in our growing up years. And so I'm wondering, can people really overcome those holdbacks that are often buried so deep in the subconscious?
Yes.
Or they, take them for granted?
We did.
And you did.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, and the answer is yes, yes, yes. People have to do the work of unburying those beliefs that are located in the unconscious, and they have to work against the negative head talk. Part of our program, Being Fabulous in Business, helps people with the unconscious holdbacks, the negative head talk, and that's why we have a workbook associated to help people work through those buried beliefs and get them up to the surface, where once they're conscious, then you can work against it and consciously every day work to assert who you are now instead of who you were taught to be largely unconsciously then.
Beth, Judith and I use a phrase. We say there is no such thing as failure. You are always succeeding. The question is at what?
Yes.
What are you
what?
actually succeeding at? Yeah. What are you actually succeeding at? For
Right.
example, when Judith left New York, she was succeeding at obeying the training. She's got to get married.
Mm-hmm.
When I hit the wall in Hollywood, I could not. The best way I can say that I came from deep Catholicism, which has a real and negative impact on the body, physicality. When I saw the body that I thought was this, it turned out to be that, it was terrifying to me. I had to flee. I ran from it. So what we're saying here is, when I ran, I was not failing. I was failing my ambition for the theater, but I was succeeding at the unconscious program that kept me in place. I left. I was very successful in that sense.
I was just going to say, when you say then most people appear to be, the majority of humans I interact with, and this would include myself, it's much easier to be loyal and
Yes.
people pleasing, to keep that loyalty in check. That's often unconscious, of course, but that loyalty is huge for people. And I find the more rigid the culture they come from, the more they must follow family tradition. They must do XYZ by a certain point in their life. Even harder it is for those people than someone maybe, they got conditioning, but their parents were super encouraging and not super structured or super strict. They have an easier time. So you two are the ones who first introduced me to this concept of being loyal. And it was because of that, I realized that I was very much afraid of outshining my father. And every time I would get to a point where I would sabotage it somehow. Unconsciously, I'd, suddenly have a big tax bill, or, I get sick, or something I would do. And I realized that I had to give myself that internal permission to shine.
And to outdo your father.
Right, because he wasn't even paying attention anyways. It's not like he actually cared. It was all going inside of my head. He would have been proud of me, so it's not logical.
Your tax bill and your sickness were successes.
Yes, they were. And being loyal and being loyal to the family.
If people can turn that around for themselves, they will see an entire landscape of successes instead of a landscape of failures.
That's right.
Psychologically makes a big difference.
And you raised the issue of people who are raised in cultures, family dynamics, cultures, religions, any of those that are very restrictive. People have to get conscious about hey, maybe it's not the keenest thing on the planet for you to have to always be humble and always play yourself down, which might have been appropriate if you were still in a village back in the country your parents came from, but it's not appropriate now if you are starting your own business or you're growing your own business or you're growing a career. You need to be in charge of yourself now on your terms to allow yourself to be fabulous.
You know, Beth, I'd like to speak to all the people watching now who are thinking about what we are saying is virtually blasphemous. To not be humble, to not be modest, how dare you say that? Well, we have a definition of humility. Humility is not the false suppression of your gifts. True humility is the full expression of your gifts as a way of honoring their source, whatever you believe that to be. If I say, if
I agree.
Good, yay!
I mean, that's how I would define humility. I think it's actually very selfish, almost narcissistic for people to dwell and in their misery when they could be sharing their gifts and experiencing delight and that fulfillment and success. All right, I have another question for you. So you recently created this program that I haven't finished going through, but I started and it's really good. And it's very successful now with business people, entrepreneurs, employees, anyone working basically who wants to go to the next level in using their gifts, called the Being Fabulous in Business online course. So would you share with everyone what your motivation was for doing the course? And then for all of you watching, I can't stress enough, please introduce yourself to Judith and Jim's work if you haven't, because these two people, you've reached the pinnacle of what coaching is. To be executive coaches for LinkedIn, I mean, that's, every coach who's come out of coaching school dreams of landing an 11-year gig with a major company and being their go-to coaches. So, you definitely broke through the past programming about the ceiling of success, which is great. So you can walk your talk now. But I'd love for you just to share a bit about it. And then I want to invite all of you watching, please go take the program. It's a small investment for many, many years of success to come.
Absolutely.
So yeah, will you share about where the idea came from and tell us more about it?
Well, we have over the years talked about how can we scale our impact. We can only work with so many people one-on-one coaching. Even when we're at LinkedIn or Credit Karma and we're doing trainings with teams of people, it's still just that internal team of people. So we've talked about how can we scale our work, and we've ended up creating this program that is very doable. It's 4 hours audio, so you can do it while you're out walking, when you're bicycling, on BART or subway, wherever you might be, because it's an audio program. And it's 4 hours in short snippets so that you're not locked into an hour's worth of listening at one time. And we've created the workbook so that people are required, if they participate, and we urge every one of you who gets this program to please do the workbook, because it makes you rework your thinking about these various issues and put it in writing. And then, of course, the enhanced transcripts come with it if you prefer reading. We also encourage you to, 6 months from now, do the program again, because who you are then, we trust, will have expanded, and you will be able to push yourself even further using this program that helps you get past the fear of being fabulous.
The reason we say put it on paper is because when one does that, it becomes objective. You can look at it out here, not just think about, not in the fog in your head. You can look at it out here. At times very often we have asked people, write down the list of your success, what you believe were your successes. We have been shocked given what they bring to us. And they too have been shocked being able to see you instead of lost in the fog inside their head. Put it on paper so you can see it and verify it for yourself.
Well, and some people may not want to work on paper. Mm-hmm. That's why the workbook has been created so you can work on it online. So you don't need a printer. You don't need a pen and pencil, really.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to support what Jim just said is very often we ask people to, for their assignment, and that's worked into the program here, is how have your so-called failures helped grow who you are, helped you become more successful? To take this idea that you're never actually failing, you're always succeeding at something, and to incorporate that so that you can grow in your confidence, you can grow in your sense of well-being, rather than so many people get anxious about, well, I didn't make it here, or I didn't get hired at that job, or I didn't get promoted there. And they use it to play themselves down over and over and over.
You know, Beth, people might argue that, well, this is just stupid. People are failing. The people do fail. Yes, they do. For example, look all the homeless people out in the world. Are they succeeding? Yes, they are. The question is at what? They are homeless in allegiance or in loyalty to some unconscious idea or commitment. They are succeeding that takes them right to the homeless position. 1 year back, years ago, when I was in LA, I was somewhere in Santa Monica, sitting on a ledge, looking down into the cavern. And below me, I could see a homeless encampment. And I actually thought, Christ, I could end up there. I know I could end up there. I have it in me to end up there. Having it in me to end up there would have been a success. It would have been a negative success and an unconscious success, but it would have been a success in that loyalty. I'm loyal, watch me express it.
Well, and a way to think about what Jim's talking about and how some people talk about it is, and we've all used the expression, we've heard people say it all the time, oh, he loved his mother to death. Think about that phrase. Oh, he loved his family. She loved her family to death. When you incorporate that idea of what it means to love where you came from to death, you have to keep killing off your expertise, your intelligence, your capability, your ambition. And then, as Jim just said, you may end up homeless. Well, we know that's not the population that we're speaking to right now, thank goodness. But it's worth considering when you have this idea of loving your family to death, that will hold you back. And we do not want that for anyone watching this interview.
No, I won't say that expression anymore since you pointed that out to me 20-something years ago. Do you really want to love someone to their death? Right. It's kind of how I am, like, oh gosh, I don't want to be reinforcing that. I mean, I get the concept that I love you for the rest of your life. I love you for eternity, what have you. But the way it sounds is I love you in a way that is toxic and irrational and rigid and fixed.
Exactly.
Tell about the story about the alcoholic in your.
Oh, well, that we're just to support that again. We've already said it. I think what really is important here is that for everyone watching this interview with you, that they be inspired by you and your success and the story that we've told about how we walked away from our acting careers and have done the opposite in our coaching, is opened ourselves to let it keep growing and growing. And for every single person watching this interview to please question, can I grow more? Can I allow myself more freedom to become more expansive in what I aspire to do? What's the next largest thing I can want to do and let myself do? And then for all of you who need some help, by all means, take Beth up on this and use the link that she's put up here to go to our program, Being Fabulous in Business, and use the program.
Yes, definitely use the program. I want to ask you, how have people and businesses been responding to your program? Because I know you've had a lot of positive responses from companies who need this kind of program for their learning and development offerings. And for any of you listening who are corporate, who need a program for your learning and development offerings, contact Judith and Jim. The contact info is also above this video. But how have people been responding?
They've been responding very positively. The corporate process is lengthy. But we are closing arrangements with 2 major corporations right now. We're not at liberty to use their names. I'm sorry to say that. But what we're hearing over and over is this program is so different than most learning and development programs. And we're looking at, in one major company is looking at using it to start with for their contractor engineers who get almost no support to grow their careers. And we're very excited about that because this program, once it's put together and it's in the process, will have a project manager in charge to test, to pre-test and post-test all of these engineers who will be using the program to grow in their professional expertise and confidence. So, and you know, there's just a wide variety of companies, and I wish we were more at liberty. We've got some companies who also asked us not to say their names. So we're a little hamstrung here, but we're getting very positive responses.
Well, I'm sure there are notable names. I mean, because of the names you can drop, I'm sure at some point you'll be able to down the road, but
Yes, we will.
we take you. I believe you. I know you're telling the truth. So any final words of wisdom for our audience?
Yes, please, please, please. When you run into a problem, don't just see it as a problem. See it as a way to gain self-awareness. Self-awareness about what's going on unconsciously. If working with our program is designed specifically to uncover the unconscious, in academic circle, that would be anathema. The unconscious, definitely unconscious forever. That's not true. You can find out more about who you are and how to better perform and love yourself for that performance. That's what I ask people to take this so seriously and not love yourselves to death, except in Beth's interpretation. Love yourself to the end of your life. Bravo, Beth.
And I would simply add that we encourage everyone to think larger about what's possible for you, because all too often we are hamstrung by limited imagination, limited ambition, limited aspiration. And please take away from our conversation with Beth that there's more. You can have more. Just let yourself want more.
For example, the word fabulous. A lot of people in business sort of back away from the word fabulous. It's not a terrific business term. What we mean by fabulous is not the Taj Mahal or $1 billion. Those are fantasy. What we mean by fabulous, when you find yourself constrained and you take the next step to move beyond the constraint, it's not even in the content of the step you're taking, is the fact that you're willing to take the next step. That itself is fabulous. Fabulous. Open doors, open vistas, open careers. That's really what you're after.
Beautifully said.
Thank you.
Thank you both so much.
Such
a pleasure.
Yes, isn't this
I love
fun?
this conversation. I never tire of this conversation, and I don't think a person really could hear it too much or work on it enough, because there's always those little places, those little nooks and crannies where these unconscious saboteurs are hanging out.
That's right.
And it's good to do a regular quarterly or bi-yearly detox, if you will, house cleaning of your critters that are holding you back, the belief critters.
That's right.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Align to Your Design. This is Baeth Davis, and we will see you next time. Bye for now.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Align to Your Design. If you did, please grab my free report, Business by Design, at yourpurpose.com, and then join our Facebook group, Align to Your Design. See you next time.